Today, my role is to share with you guys where we start from. And it's going to be the foundation, and then Patrick Johnson tomorrow is going to tell you where we take the team to the next stage at Dassault Systèmes. But it's important, I think, especially as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Living Heart project, to say, okay, we have been working for 10 years. What can we celebrate today, and what can we do today with a virtual twin of the human body? And I will share this with you but for this, then I will start with the why. And actually, that why goes back to me doing a PhD at Institut Pasteur 12 years ago. And I remember why I chose to do this PhD at Institut Pasteur. It's great basic science, fundamental research, but it's also care about the applications to the daily life, to the impact on patients, on changing, improving medicine. And that I really liked this alliance of both, because I wanted that science would have impact on patients. And if I ask you for a metric, okay, how are you going to measure that you have impact on patients? What would you come up with? I would come with the healthy life expectancy. Life expectancy is good, it's progressing, but you don't want to live longer lives if they're not healthier. And so just a question for the audience, worldwide, do you know what is the healthy life expectancy today? Take a guess, I don't hear anything. 62 years old. In France, because we're in Paris, 70. But in France, on average, 70 years of healthy life expectancy, 82 years of life expectancy, which means you get the point. And so that's the big why. We want to contribute to help people live longer and healthier lives. And to do so, we need to understand the transformations that are at stake in the healthcare ecosystem. And so I'm going to briefly comment on 6 of them. The first one is actually patients are more and more autonomous. And if you want to achieve patient autonomy, you need to have patients that need to be able to, that are well-informed, able to decide, and free to act. And just a KPI, today, 87% of the wearable owners actually use these wearables to track their health metrics. And we see that this has triggered a lot of interest from consumer tech. You've heard the recent announcements from Apple, for example, with the AirPods becoming hearing aids, or the Apple Watch preventing the risk for atrial fibrillation. The next one, I think, is an obvious one for the people in the room. We are moving from easy-to-cure diseases with one-size-fits-all to much more complex, multifactorial diseases, and that is the move towards personalized therapies. So just one KPI, 47% of the FDA-approved drugs over the past 3 years are labeled personalized treatments. And if you have a look on the medtech side, 10 new companion diagnostics have been approved every year in the past 3 years. The next one is actually, how are you going to fund this healthcare system? And here we see a transition from moving from a dumb kind of price multiplied by volume approach, fee-for-service, to a value-based care approach. And this can take different forms. With Obamacare, we have seen some subscription fees with the accountable care organizations. We see outcome-based contracting between life science companies and some payers. One KPI here again, Medicare, US Medicare has committed to 100% of care being value-based contracted by 2030. And there are huge savings from 3 to 20% to be made by payers if they go this way. The fourth one actually speaks to my heart. I've been working at APHP, Greater Paris University Hospital, and I've seen burnt-out physicians. Actually, you could think that digitalization is going to help physicians, but you have to be careful because 50% of the burnouts are actually caused by the use of not user-friendly EHRs, so the health records. And so, you have to take into account also that there is more and more pressure because of a shortage of physicians and an increase in the demand with aging. So WHO is projecting to 10 million the shortage of healthcare workers by 2030. Siloed care to coordinated patient journey is another transformation. I think we have all experienced this as a patient. One KPI, up to 8 hours can be spent by a patient every month to coordinate their healthcare services across different physicians. And the last one is a move from treatment to prevention. Only 5% of the healthcare expenses are actually linked with preventative healthcare, yet there are huge costs to be made, savings to be made. The Lancet has assessed to $700 billion for the US alone the cost of preventable health risks. And so when we look at all this and we're like, okay, we want to help people live healthier lives with sustainable healthcare systems, can we help? And of course we can, and my belief is that the virtual twin of the healthcare system will be front and center, because as you said, Bernard, we will be able to extend and improve the real world because we are going to be able to leverage these virtual human twin technologies. And so that's what I'm going to describe today. And I will show you that we apply these virtual human twin experiences with different customers. To the left of this chart, you see those that we serve mostly today: life science companies, biopharma companies, medtech companies. And we also, of course, want to serve healthcare providers, in particular physicians. And we have started doing some work with them, and I will share some today. And what we have to understand is that we want to position our offerings in a way that is going to serve the products made by these customers. So drugs or molecular therapies for biopharmas, medical devices and equipment for medtechs, more and more a combination of both that also come with digital therapeutics, an app that is going to coach the patient along their journey. And so, then to shape and craft our portfolio and see how virtual human twin experiences can help, we are going to think about what do they value the most. And if I boil it down to the most simpler, if you ask a biopharma CEO, if you ask a healthcare physician what they value the most, why they wake up in the morning, they will share three things: patient centricity, and for a medtech it could be caregiver centricity, innovation and excellence, and sustainability. And if I share a few more quotes, what we mean by patient centricity is powering healthier people. It can be healthy citizens that will get vaccinated, disabled people, or patients with acute or chronic diseases. They want to foster a seamless patient journey, and that's true for both life science companies and healthcare providers. And if you look at the life science companies, they also want to unburden healthcare workers. We know that most of the users of medical devices are actually nurses, physicians, and they have very little quality time with their patients. So if you give them easy-to-use devices, then you unburden them. On the healthcare providers, the equivalent is that they want to spend quality time with their patients. If I now focus on innovation and excellence, I've already touched to precision medicine, so it's all about proposing the right treatment to the right patient at the right time. If I focus now a bit more about life science companies, we hear, and we heard it this morning, they want to, if it comes to excellence and innovation, they want to put medtech in medtech. Think about all these smart connected devices. More than 1,000 AI-enabled medical devices have been approved by FDA as we speak. And we also see some innovative techniques, robotic surgery being one of them that we saw on stage this morning, additive manufacturing, and so on and so forth. Deliver healthcare as a service is another innovation as we move from selling a medical device to selling a set of training, maintenance, and other services. If I take the hat of a physician, it would be about crafting and applying best medical practices so that you shape the future, the standard for medical practice excellence, and also training the next generation of practitioners. And then sustainability will actually start with quality, cybersecurity, data privacy. They are key, and we discussed it again this morning with Jean Tirole. Just the KPI, Class 1 recalls for medical devices have already reached the level of 23 in just 3 quarters of 24. Every pharmacy has shortage of drugs. A drug that is not available is not of high quality. Second aspect of sustainability is actually about patient access. That calls out the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 3. 100% of the patients should have access to essential healthcare, and obviously the environmental impact, protecting the planet. So having said that, we want to provide our customers with an end-to-end scientific and business platform for them to achieve sustainable innovation, therapeutic innovation, and improve the patient journey. And so I'm going to share examples now, but just in a few words, what I call therapeutic innovation and the life cycle will go from research to development, clinical trials, manufacturing, quality, regulatory, and commercialization. And then once commercialized, a drug or device will now be available for doctors when they consult with patients. But if we put ourselves in the shoes of the patient, it actually starts with self-assessment with an autonomous patient that will then consult with a doctor that will lead to a diagnosis, medical decision, treatment, and follow-up. And I will comment on that and give you examples, but quantitatively, just for you to set the stage, we have more than 14,000 customers worldwide today. All the large pharma and medtech companies are our customers, and also a very large number of small and medium-sized companies. In terms of physicians, we touch more than 100,000 physicians across the world and more than 10 million patients. So, are you ready for a deeper dive? Let's start at the beginning of this loop with research. And here it's actually an interesting example. I'm showing you a virtual twin of a cell, and you see it's not in 3D, it's systems biology, Bernard. And what we do here is that we want to do a modeling of the signaling pathways in glioblastoma, with the idea that if we understand the active and inactive state of a lot of molecules in the cell, then we can predict how this cell and the cancer will react to some drugs. And so we have been describing a dozen of signaling pathways and around roughly 50 drugs. And so that is used today by pharma companies, but what we will show later in the symposium with Institut Gustave Roussy and Meditwin is that you can also think about applying these techniques on the right side of that if we look with consultation and diagnostics. My next example is actually inspired by a speaker last year. So last year at the symposium, Biogen actually used the symposium as a way for them to establish the credibility for a methodology of using virtual twin patient-specific delivery systems. And what they do is that they have to inject drugs that will go to the brain, so it's called intrathecal injection, and they want to identify what is the best site of injection. And you have to know that the circulation of the cerebrospinal fluid is actually complex to understand. It's only a secondary circulatory system, so it will move by gravity and with your heart rate. And so we have been able to model with them the way the drug is going to spread through the CSF and then all the way to the brain. Interestingly, we did it not only for humans, but also for non-human primates, and the results were actually so good, like the results of the simulation were so good compared to data from Biogen that they were able to skip the step of preclinical development in non-human primates. So that's an example of drug development. Now, if I move to the clinical trial, I'm actually going to share two quick examples, one on the drug side and one on the medical device side. On the drug side, we spent a full panel yesterday discussing how you can leverage historical cohorts of patients that have gone through clinical trials to build what we call synthetic control arms, which means you replace patients in the control arm by data from previous clinical trials with the standard of care that will be matching the same inclusion-exclusion criteria. We have been doing numerous projects with pharma companies, and there is a lot of support from FDA and other regulators to move into that space because it accelerates access to innovative treatments for patients, and it's more ethical for patients. Now, what about medical devices? Actually, we're going to spend a lot of time discussing that at the symposium, so I'm just going to do a little bit of teasing because I'm actually very proud to say that we, to some extent, did an in silico treatment arm. So what if you could test a medical device, here it's a mitral valve repair device, in a cohort of synthetic patients? Could you predict the results of the real clinical trial? And if you do this, then can you reduce the number of real patients that you will have to enroll in your trial? Here again, it's about accelerating time, de-risking the trial for the patients. And so we will have a full panel tomorrow with the contributor to this publication, including FDA. Next on the chart, and actually we're moving to the right, we're going to focus on patients. Bernard, you were talking about aerospace. We have to know that in aerospace, what Dassault Systèmes does is not only building the virtual twin of a plane at the beginning when it's a theoretical plane, but we are able to maintain virtual twins of each of the existing planes to do predictive maintenance, for example. So great that I'm telling you that we can build a virtual twin of the heart or another organ, but can I have the virtual twin, the personalized virtual twin of Claire, and maintain it over time? Well, good news is, thanks to this acquisition that we did 5 years ago with Medidata, we have the ability to collect longitudinal data with sensors, and with the rigor of measurement of the outcome that can really ensure that you will be able to maintain your virtual twin. And so that's what we do. We are able to embark a lot of different sensors that will look at your sleep patterns, your sleeping patterns, heartbeats, and so on and so forth. Let's continue our journey and be in the shoes of a patient that has to undergo some treatment. Actually, one example of what we do today is inspired by the Boston Children's Foundation, Boston Children's Hospital, and it's a story you're going to hear tomorrow. A mom who's also a doctor, Mrs. Katie Bales, actually really wanted to make sure her kid, Alex, that had to undergo surgery would get the best possible outcome, and so that's why she chose to relocate to the Boston Children's Hospital for her son to be to go through the surgery. And the first step in that journey is actually for the mom and the son to understand what this journey will be about. And Dr. Hergenson, you've been using the virtual twin of the heart for many years as a great way to explain to the patients and their family what this journey will be about. And so it starts there. If you're able to understand your own health status, and then you can make more informed decisions, and it reduces the level of anxiety. So from patient education to actually medical decision and diagnosis, and here I'm going to be very brief because you're going to hear so many outstanding stories in the next few days. But Bernard, you said one of the foundations here is with the Boston Children's Hospital, making sure that before you undergo surgery with children that have congenital heart diseases, you can compare different treatment options. And it's not only different options, but it's also different conditions. The patient at rest, the patient during sport, and so on and so forth, and that really impacts the medical decision for the best outcome for the patient. With that, I hope you got a glimpse of what we do today, leveraging virtual human twin experiences as a way to achieve therapeutic innovation and medical practice excellence. If you're eager to know more, I'm proud to say that we have released an updated version of our white paper, and you will see that this white paper touches on 3 points. Obviously, the virtual twin of the human body is critical as a way to understand disease, test different treatment options, predict outcome, and that's super important. But we have actually positioned 2 additional pillars. We think that if you want to achieve the best outcome for the patient, you can combine this virtual twin of the human body with a virtual twin of the hospital or the local care setting. Why so? Because you need to understand actually the environment in which the care will be delivered. The value for the physicians will be that they work in an optimized environment. The value for the patient will be an enhanced care journey. And so that's pillar number 2. The third pillar is actually a virtual twin of the healthcare system itself. Why so? Because we want to achieve sustainability in the healthcare system. And so you can use this virtual twin as a way to understand the money flows and the incentives to achieve affordable healthcare.